Welcome to the eNETEmployer how-to video series. This lesson will discuss how to work with workers' compensation or WCB settings in our payroll. Creating these settings for each employee's work classification is easy, and once the settings are in place, you can apply them to your employees manually, or you can do so using employee templates. Both methods will be discussed in this lesson. Note, WCB settings must always be defined first before any employees are added to the payroll. Workers' compensation requirements differ across the 13 provinces and territories, and not every business requires WCB coverage. Therefore, if you're unsure of the settings required for your business, we suggest that you refer to legislation that applies to your area. So, if your business requires workers' compensation coverage and you have the required rates on hand, please proceed with this video to learn how to apply the rates and settings to your payroll. Let's begin by logging into the program and choosing the payroll service. Once the program appears, ensure that you're on the Payroll tab, then choose the Current Payroll WCB command. This opens the WCB screen that allows us to enter our company's provincial and territorial Workers' Compensation Board rates and settings. To begin defining our WCB settings, we must first choose a province from the drop-down list beside the New button, and then choose the New button. This action inserts a new WCB row into the table. When the new row is added, it appears in edit mode, so we can begin editing the various cells. We begin by moving to the yearly maximum assessable field and entering the desired rate for our region. The yearly maximum assessable amount refers to the maximum annual earnings on which premiums are calculated for each of our workers, and on which benefits are calculated for those who are injured at work. If you need to view up-to-date WCB rates for all Canadian regions, please visit our website at www.canpay.com. And by the way, if you come across an item or term in the program and you need a detailed explanation for it, you can open the online help by pressing the F1 key on your keyboard, or by choosing the handy help icon that's located above each table. The online help system describes each column and page in detail. All descriptions are provided in alphabetical order to make it easier to locate the item for which you are looking. The next 5 columns, registration number, EFT, EFT account, remit frequency, and reference ID, are optional because transmitting WCB premiums via EFT is slated for a future release and is not yet active in the software. This feature is pending the various provincial governments' legislation and technical specifications. Once this method becomes available, you'll be able to create a data file that you can use to transmit your WCB payments electronically. Now we can move to the description cell and enter a name or description for the row. This description should be brief and concise, as it will appear in various drop-down lists in different program screens. For example, the Setup Employee screen when you're assigning the WCB rate for a given employee. The description is particularly useful when you have more than one rate to assign to your employees. For our demo, we will enter Plant, as this is the rate for employees who work in our manufacturing plant. We will add one other WCB rate in a moment, and it will have a different description applied to help us differentiate between the two rates. And lastly, we move to the rate per 100 cell and specify the rate at which the current WCB item will be charged. In our demo, plant employees are charged at $1.51 per $100 of assessable payroll. Again, each province and territory establishes their own maximum assessable amount for their employees. With the settings complete for the row, we can now choose the Save icon. That's the orange check mark located at the left side of the row. And that completes the WCB settings for our plant workers. Now we can enter one more rate for assembly personnel. That's our second classification of workers. So we move back to the New button once again, ensure that the Manitoba option is still selected in the province drop-down list, and then select the New button. This action inserts a new WCB sub-row just below the original row. Since most of the previous settings have already been entered, all we need to do is define the description and rate for the new WCB item. Move to the description cell and enter assembly, and then move to the rate cell and enter 0.67. When the settings are complete, we can save the row. We now have two different rate classifications that can be applied as needed to new employees as they are being added to the payroll. And as mentioned at the start of this lesson, WCB settings, along with all of the other settings under the Current Payroll menu, must typically be completed first before any subsequent employees are added to the payroll. This order of data entry is important to mention because if you've already added your employees and calculated then closed your payroll without first having created the WCB settings, your calculations will be missing this required data. To correct this, you would then need to unclose your payroll and then use an employee template to reapply the WCB settings to employees after the fact. Please view our how-to video entitled Working with Employee Templates for more information on that feature. So let's add an employee to our payroll using the employee template method. To do so, we must first ensure that the templates have our new WCB items included. To verify this, let's choose the Current Payroll Templates command. When the screen appears, you will see that we've already created 3 templates, one for salary employees and 2 for hourly employees. The salary template contains appropriate earning types such as bonus, salary, and commission. And the 2 hourly templates contain earning types such as statutory pay, regular, double time, and overtime. Assembly workers use a different template other than plant workers because assembly staff have the opportunity to earn bonuses based on quota work. If you look under the WCB column for all 3 templates, you will see that our new WCB settings have not yet been included. To assign the WCB setting to our templates, we can either edit each row manually, or we can speed up the process by right-clicking on the table and choosing the Edit All command. This activates edit mode for all 3 rows. Next, we will move to the WCB drop-down list in each row and choose the appropriate Manitoba option for all 3. Notice that the program has prefixed each WCB description with the word Manitoba for our reference. We'll choose the Manitoba plant option for the plant row, and for assembly workers, we'll choose Manitoba Assembly. Our salary staff work in the office and do not require WCB coverage. Once we're complete, we need to save the information for all of the rows. Instead of choosing the save icon for each individual row, we'll right-click on the table and choose the Edit Accept All command. This saves our changes for all of the rows at once. Now that our WCB settings are included in our employee template, let's use the template to add a new employee to the payroll. Move to the menu bar and choose the Employee Setup Employee command. The Setup Employee screen is the starting point for each employee's detailed payroll information. The options shown here include the employee's surname, given name, birth date, their preferred language, and a number of other basic settings. Although you can add employees manually, the employee template method is much more efficient because you can apply many pre-assigned settings in one step. To add our employee using a template, move to the top left of the screen and click on the drop-down list that appears just to the right of the New button. This list displays 3 employee templates that we saw earlier. Let's select the plant option and then choose the New button. This action inserts a new employee row into the table and its cells appear ready for editing. Let's assign some sample values for our lesson, beginning with the employee's last name, first name, and middle initial. For the purposes of our demo, we'll put in a test social insurance number, and then we'll replace the program's suggested employee number with something with a few less characters. We will then assign a birth date of April 5th, 1972. Scrolling over to the right, we see a few more options: the employee's gender, his preferred language for use in the payroll. In our case, choosing the default option will apply the English language. And since this employee has no dependents, this completes the data entry for this initial screen. Notice that the final column is set to the plant template option that we just chose. Scrolling back to the left, we will now choose the Save icon. This records the changes and officially applies each of the template settings to our new employee, Gregory House. Now let's review the WCB setting that has been automatically applied to our new employee. Move to the menu bar and choose the Employee Pay Parameters command. This screen is used to define settings that relate to how employee payments are allocated within the payroll. Notice that the WCB column shows that Gregory has been assigned the Manitoba plant rate, based on the template setting for plant-based workers. Similarly, the template has also assigned him an hourly statistic code along with a full rate business account. If you wish to add an employee and their WCB settings manually, you would perform the same basic actions that you saw earlier in the Setup Employee screen. Except instead of choosing a template when you add a new employee, you would leave the template drop-down list blank. You would then proceed methodically through the other options under the employee menu and fill in the employee's details as needed, including the WCB setting. And that completes the workers' compensation settings for the payroll. As mentioned at the start of this lesson, WCB settings, along with all of the other settings under the Current Payroll menu, must typically be completed first before any subsequent employees are added to the payroll. This order is important because if you've already added employees, calculated, and then closed your payroll without first having created the WCB settings, you will need to unclose the payroll and add these settings to achieve the correct benefit and remittance amounts. Please view our how-to video entitled Unclosing a Payroll for more information on that feature. Now let's review the workers' compensation report that will show us the calculated WCB amounts and how much we need to remit to our WCB office. Since our demo payroll is brand new and contains no payroll calculations, let's open up a sample payroll that has some actual WCB data. With our payroll loaded, we will choose the Payroll Processing Reports command. When the report screen appears, choose the Workers' Compensation option from the list, and then select the New button. This inserts a new report row into the table. By default, this report uses the data from the current payroll year, as indicated by the year 2016 shown under the Year column. If you need to run a report for a previous year, simply remove the check from the last cell, and then you'll have access to other payroll years. With the desired report year in place, choose the Generate Report button. Depending on your browser settings, the resulting PDF will either be stored in your Downloads folder, or you may be presented with a dialog box that will prompt you where to save the file. For our demo, I can click directly on the PDF button that has appeared at the bottom of my browser. The Workers' Compensation Report lists each employee's assessable earnings, their assigned WCB rate, and their WCB amounts per pay period. With WCB premiums due on or before the end of February each year, this report can be referred to arrive at the correct remittance amounts. Though each province has specific requirements as to which earnings and benefits are subject to the WCB assessment, typically any amount that would appear in box 14 of the T4 would be included in this report. And that completes the lesson on creating WCB rate settings and applying them to new employees using an employee template. We hope you found the lesson useful, and as always, if you need a detailed explanation for any program item or function, press the F1 key on your keyboard to access the online help system at any time. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more how-to videos.